Today, we're talking about a very important topic that hits many of us expats when we move abroad, and that is identity. When we move to another country, we not only lose our country, but often we struggle with what we want to do, what our purpose is. When we no longer have those jobs, yeah, I hear an echo now. Can you guys hear the echo? No, I can hear the echo. I don't know why. All right. So, with that, let me have each of you introduce yourself.
I can start. Okay, hi everyone. My name is Dominique Narciso Kim, and I am a serial expat, originally from the United States, but have lived across South Korea, Peru, Australia, and will soon be moving over to Fiji in a few months. And I'm a business coach and also a purpose and identity mentor for expats and trailing spouses and global professionals.
Okay, I'll go next. I'm Shanelle. I'm originally from South Africa. I've lived in South Korea. I've lived in Europe, in Amsterdam. Also, I've worked and lived in Mozambique and currently in Ecuador. Now I'm a financial coach for expat women, teachers, and people living abroad. Yeah, I'm very happy to be here. Thank you very much, Naina.
You're welcome. Actually, I figured out. Thank you, ladies. I was hearing an echo, and the reason was I had the YouTube live stream open on my laptop. So and I think there's a couple of seconds lag. So I would speak here, and then I could hear myself like a few seconds later. And then when you guys were introducing yourself, I could hear you guys after a few seconds. So that's the problem with technology. There's always something happening. So I don't know if everyone else heard the echo, but we're all good now. So that's why if I sounded a little abrupt in the beginning when I was kicking this off, it was because of the echo. So yeah, now we can be all warm and friendly and welcoming. Go ahead, Julie.
Okay, so my name is Julie Marx. I am also, I guess you could call me a serial expat. I'm not sure. I've lived most recently a good decade in the northeast of China. Before that, I studied in France. I've lived in the US, and my passport is German, so I've spent some time in Germany as well. And I am the founder of China Expat Spouse. So I'm a coach and I'm also a corporate trainer, and I do anything to do with intercultural and also anything to do with China and anything to do with people who follow their partners abroad. So that's me.
Wonderful.
She can also speak like 90 languages.
I don't know about 90. I speak four. I work in four, and I have a smidgen of Spanish as well, but four working languages, yes.
That's incredible.
Yeah, it really is. So with that, let me introduce myself. And if you're joining us on LinkedIn or YouTube, it looks like it's not streaming on Facebook right now. But if you're joining us on LinkedIn and YouTube, do let us know in the chat or the comments where you're calling in from and what you do. I'm Naina. I'm the founder and CEO of the Expat Woman, and I'm also a LinkedIn coach. And I've also recently moved into YouTube coaching. I had my first client hire me last month to help her with her YouTube channel. I have 3 YouTube channels. One of them is the Expat Woman channel, and this live stream is streaming on the Expat Woman YouTube channel. I help women build their personal brands, their visibility, and get opportunities by helping them through my community, which is the Expat Woman community, and our membership, and also through opportunities like these where I bring members on to share their expertise, join me in these fun discussions, showcase their insights and experiences. And then, of course, I also guide people in how to use LinkedIn and YouTube to stand out from the crowd and, again, build their visibility and personal brand. So today, this topic is, I think, so important about identity, clarity, about your purpose abroad, what you want to be known for. And I just want to be transparent. I never even thought of these things when I moved to the US 22, 23 years ago. Like, if you said identity, purpose, clarity, these would have all been words I would have had, that never crossed my dictionary. So it's, so interesting that when we move abroad, it's really an education too, because things that you wouldn't have paid attention to if you lived in your country, because your identity may not have gotten this you wouldn't have changed your identity. You already have clarity most of the time on what you want to do. In my case, I was stuck in a career I hated. But let me ask all you guests, what first of all, what is your definition of identity? And whoever wants can go first. And did you lose your identity, and how did you lose it when you moved abroad? And some of you are serial expats, or I think all three of you are serial expats and repats, so it'd be interesting to know.
I'll go first. So when I moved from South Africa to the Netherlands as an au pair, I just did it because I wanted to travel, and with the South African passport, you can't really go anywhere. So that was my ticket to see Europe. And that year was just fun. But my biggest change was from South Africa to South Korea, because my native language is Afrikaans. Now I'm going to a country where you can't even read the symbols. A. B. English is my second language. And C. It's a whole different culture. So I was like, okay, I can just be who I choose to be. Like, I can create this person. I mainly went as an English teacher. So I was like, oh, well, now we got to speak a different language. And I think Julie would know, like, your brain is just fried. So you don't really think about, like, this is my purpose, this is my clarity, this is my, my goal. You just kind of go with the system, and like that somehow shapes you, because that's a decision that you made. Go as an English teacher to a different country with a different language, and now you just kind of fit in, stand out. Yeah. Anybody have to say anything about it?
I'll go next. I love that, Shanelle, and I love the context that you provided in terms of who you were before you moved overseas, and that kind of helps me in this definition of what identity is. And Nina, these are great questions as well. I didn't even think about what's my identity, what's my purpose overseas when I went overseas. So in terms of my context, I originally from Los Angeles. My first stint overseas was as a Peace Corps volunteer. So I had a very specific role to play. And I went to Costa Rica, didn't know the language. So just like you, Shanelle, like trying to learn the system, understand, how things work. My big identity shift wasn't in Costa Rica. It was actually in our first posting with my wife, who's a US diplomat in Venezuela, where I had the education. I went to, I had all the things. I had some training in consular affairs. It was really hard for me to find a position or professional position in Venezuela. And at that time, there was a lot of, challenges, legal challenges in terms of same-sex couples. And so I couldn't work. And that for me, like a big part of my identity before kids was my career and my professional identity. So I lost my professional identity when I went to Venezuela. And I was literally picking up the pieces of like, who am I now that I'm not a Peace Corps volunteer, now that I can't work in the local economy, and I don't have a set community. So for me, my identity really shifted, and my whole, I would say my transformation has began in that first posting in Venezuela, in Caracas, where I didn't know who I wanted to be. And I really struggled if I wasn't achieving something or had a position that said that I was a part of an institution. So I really felt very lost for a very long time.
Yeah, I think I have some of what both of you were saying, and my first stay abroad was when I was 7 years old, and I was the only German kid in French youth camp. So it started very early, but from the very beginning, for me, not being in my passport country was always about freedom. It was always about, because then I got to be whoever I wanted to be. Because I think in most countries, but I think Germany is a very good example of a place where people like to put people in boxes, where you are this but not this. And if you don't have that paper, if you don't have that thing, then you're not going to go anywhere. And this was so from the beginning, I was always struggling with identity. So for me, it's something I start I started thinking consciously thinking about it a little bit later, but from the beginning it was always I wasn't German enough for Germany, I wasn't French enough for France. And then when I went to the US, I was all of a sudden I was exotic and people were asking me things like, "Oh, do they have telephones in Germany?" And real question by the way. But I got to decide. I got to recreate myself, and I loved that. And that continued on through my studies in France, and then it continued on in China, especially because in China is where you can just, if you can back up what you're saying about yourself, then you get to be that person. And I think it's that way in the US, but my context was different because I was in a host family. So that sort of, and I was working, so that limited the whole thing. But in China, it really is, you can, if you can dream it, you can be it um, as a foreigner. For Chinese people, it's slightly different. But if you're a foreigner, you can really create your own destiny. And this is amazing, but it's also terrifying. And that's why actually purpose is the second of the three pillars that I'm taking my clients through, because the first one is place, where it's all about logistics, but then purpose is because for everyone, identity shifts. Everyone needs to find a new purpose when they are arriving in a new country, because whatever you thought you were, just you're not anymore.
I love that. Thank you so much. Thank you all three of you for sharing your journey to finding your identity. And maybe Julie, because you moved abroad when you were so young, it, I think moving abroad kind of triggers something in our mind, and we start, I think we use a different part of our brain. Maybe I think I was telling you that, Julie, like in our last discussion, just like they say, teenagers, their brains fully develop only, I have three teens, like in their 20s, and I think I'd laugh with my husband. I think men's brains, even later in life, is still developing. Like I feel women, we mature so fast, but I think when we move abroad, there's a part of our brain that just, I don't know, just like expands. It just, you start using different, I don't know, your mindset changes no matter which country you're from and where you live, and that's such a big part of identity. Before we go on to our next question, we have people joining us in on LinkedIn. I'll have to check YouTube, but right now they've introduced themselves, so I'm going to just show their introductions. That's a cool thing about live stream, I can bring it up onto the screen. So we have Solène, she's joining us from France. She's living in LA. She's a medical sociologist with a PhD, and she's passionate about medical education. And she says, "Thank you for this beautiful session." Thank you, Solène, for joining us. We have Anna Maria Luton. She said, "Looking forward to your shared wisdom." She's participated. I think some of you might have met her because she does participate in our virtual networking events. Thank you, Anna, for joining us. And we have Hannah Nicole. She's worked across 70 countries. Wow, Hannah. So I'm sure you'll have a lot to contribute in the chat. And her focus is global leadership development. And then we have our very own Corina Hawk, who's also a member of the Expat Women Membership. She's a German and she's lived 10 years in Mexico, and she does B2B marketing and AI search, strategic clarity, and she supports solopreneurs and small and middle-sized companies. And she was on our first Bold Moves Abroad coffee chat last month, where we were talking about New Year's goals important and how do you create goals? Are they intentions? And Corina might join us up on stage at the end, because I want to also experiment with how does it work to bring people up on stage at the end. So Corina has very kindly offered to do that. And is anyone else? Yeah, Sandy. Yeah, it's great. There's somebody, LinkedIn user, they're not showing your name. It says your, sometimes I know LinkedIn's weird. They say LinkedIn user. Some people's names show up, some people's don't. So let us know who you are. You say you're originally from Hungary, living in Canada for 10 years, and now you're building your home in Denmark. Thank you. And Sandy, I think you joined us, but I don't know where you're calling in from. So introduce yourself in the chat. And with that, let's move on to sorry, somebody else said something. Oh, Sandy's
No, Sandy says, I'm currently in France,
she's
but live in
France.
New York. Excited to hear from you all. We'll be moving to Europe soon.
Very cool. Okay, let us know which part of Europe, Sandy. So with that, let's. Oh my gosh, I have to learn how to hide these. Okay, so with that, let's move on to our next question because we have still a lot of to cover. So we spoke about identity. I wanted to talk about clarity because I think clarity is such an important part of the identity. Sometimes identity happens, I think, organically, and sometimes we have to make that effort to figure out like what do I want to be known for? And I think those are the people who are those great overthinkers because they really somehow just go with the flow. I think I was just going with the flow. I have to get a job in the US, I have to do this, that, not taking a step back to really figure out what I one thing I knew when I moved to the US because I had a biotechnology, zoology background and I worked in the lab in India. I knew I'm not a lab person. I'm a very people's person. And I had worked in the corporate world. I was so sick of it. So I knew I didn't want to work in the corporate world. I did not want to definitely work in science. And I wanted to give back. I wanted to do like work for a nonprofit. But I actually came to the US to study film. I studied in New York. So you can see I changed career paths completely. But then again, I didn't want to work in film after studying it. I met my husband, who's a filmmaker, and he and barely saw him because he would be gone from like 5 in the morning to like midnight working on film shoots. We lived in San Francisco. And in fact, my father-in-law would call me the film widow because I never saw my husband. And I was like, I don't want that life. It's no different than the corporate world. I love film, but I don't want to work in film. So I knew what I didn't want to do. But as I said, I wasn't thinking about like what do I want to be known for? It was kind of figuring out what I didn't want to do. So that's I just sharing that and curious, what were your and some you guys already shared a little bit, but just like how did it happen for you? Because I know all three of you very set career paths. It's very impressive, and I know your lives abroad have kind of triggered that. So it's great that if you someone asks me what each of you want to be known for, I know what it is because you have really created that personal brand for yourself, which is and I'm sure it wasn't easy. It's not like it happened, you're born with what you want to be known for. I mean, in most of our cases. Go ahead.
Oh, go Shanelle.
Okay. So mine was interesting because I think I've mentioned this before. I grew up very shy. I have two different color eyes, one green eye, one brown eye, and I was born with a cataract in this one eye. So whenever I'm sick or sleepy or don't feel so good, this eye would float. So I was bullied like a lot during primary school. And that really took a knock on my confidence. So I was extremely shy. Like if somebody speaks to me, like I would blush and I almost sweat, like in places that you should not be sweating. And like university, I remember the first year of university, I studied education for a math teacher. I thought I was going to be this, lovely math teacher teaching all these grade 6 students. Grade 5 was my dream. And so I had to get out there to be a teacher because you're going to be in front of kids. And that takes a lot of courage, especially for somebody with a lazy eye. Anyway, so went to university. My first year, I was so scared. I cried when my mom left the university fields. I was like, how am I gonna be doing this adult thing without my mom? And then went to university. Just to give you some context, I was so scared and shy and like not facing the world that I had a little scooter driving to and from the campus. It was like 2 kilometers, it's not very far. Anyway, my scooter's gas ran out. In South Africa, we sold the petrol ran out. And I didn't know like what to do now. Like I was just stuck. And I called my mom and I was like, Mom, I don't know where to get gas. Like, could you please help me? And she had to drive 2 hours to the university to come and help me with my scooter. Like that's how scared I was. Fast forward to now, like I've driven in 4 different continents. Like who cares about the lazy eye? I think I've gotten way off track from the question. I'm so sorry. But any case, yes, and I think that shapes like who you become. Going from teacher, I loved being a teacher. I remember very specifically one day I went to school sick and I was standing in front of a class. It was like a bunch of boys, like 3 girls, Usually they're very nice. The boys are a little rougher. And I was pointing to a student at the back, and I said, let's call him Max. I said, Max, what's the answer? And he said, teacher, what? So I knew. I
Go ahead.
knew.
I just populated you. I'm sorry.
Oh,
yeah, because yeah. So we
anyway,
got distracted. Go ahead. Sorry.
so he looked back, so I knew my eyes floated, and I just went, well, they can laugh, they can do whatever they want because I'm over this bullying thing. Anyway, so I went from the teacher to seeing the gap of teachers struggling with their money, and I was like, I am really curious about this, and I started studying all of it, and that's how my career path shifted from teacher to financial coach. So, but you have to get over that initial take the courage, take the leap, get out of your comfort zone, because I was, just so scared, and going abroad really shaped my decision making. Like you said, clarity, where you don't even know that you had it in you, but somehow your brain expands, and then magically you just come up with these cool ideas.
That's awesome, and I liked what you said about like how sometimes our personalities change. Like I wouldn't have guessed that you were like a shy person, Shanelle. You just show up
You
so
have no idea.
yeah, you show up so confidently and in a very authentic way, just so genuine, and your eye is actually going to always make you unique and stand out in a positive way. Like, I think it's so cool. I mean, right now I can't really see the difference, but I think that's actually to your advantage. I think
Yeah.
it's beautiful, right? When you have something that makes you so different from everyone else. So thank you for sharing that. And just before we go to the next people, I want to we welcome a few more people. We have Christy. She's from California and lived in Japan for 4 years, and she just found this conversation. Can't wait for the next chat. Thank you, Christy. Very relatable topics. And we have Chipo Mukoki. She's from Zimbabwe, British, England, currently living in the Netherlands. In that phase again of thinking about planning for our next move and transition. So this conversation is timely. Where do you want to move to? What are you thinking of, Chipko? Which country are you thinking about? Yeah, and Karina says, Shanelle, you are wonderful. Yeah, all you ladies. So yeah, so with that, let's hear from Julie and Dom. And in the meantime, let us know in the chat, how have you found your clarity, your purpose? Did you suffer with identity loss when you move to another country? Even though we can't bring you on stage right now, we'd love to hear, or if you have a question for any of us. Okay, go ahead.
So for me, the clarity was definitely thrust on me because my identity was I was a working woman. Like I completely identified with work, and that showed up in China when I continued the job that I had before, which was as a corporate trainer, and then I also found a local job where I was working as an office manager, and then that company sort of loaned me out to a joint venture where I was managing a service, like a project for service departments, where I was doing sales and after sales and social media. And we started with 4 people, and then by the time I left the company, there were, I think, 50 employees. And so, like, big growth and all of that. And so with the 3 jobs that I was juggling, more or less, I completely burned myself out. And that gave me a reset. And with that reset, I was going back and forth, and I ended up starting something that I then turned into a company. So I started writing about Shenyang, where I was living, and I started a newsletter where once a week I told everyone who wanted to know, and those who didn't, what was happening in the city, all the different events and things that were going on, and also in general writing articles about what was happening in Shenyang, because I was so sick and tired of people saying that it was a boring place, and I love that city, and I wanted everyone to love it as much as I did. And so I started a tourism company, and then COVID hit, and luckily before COVID hit, I had started my coach training, and so I pivoted because the tourism industry was deader than dead during COVID and also after COVID for foreigners traveling in China, because also, of course, the pandemic lasted a lot longer in China than it did in the rest of the world. And that's when I started. And from the beginning, I knew that I wanted to support accompanying partners. I wanted to support the people who give up everything to follow their partner across the world. And I think it's such an underserved community, and I wanted to be there for them. So, yeah. And this is something that Dom always says, I had to do the inner work before I could do the outer work, right? I had to be clear about my identity. I had to be clear about who I was and who I wanted to show up as for me to be able to start this and to work in this field.
Oh, Nina, you're muted.
Thanks. Sorry. But Karina just jumped in, so I wanted to just add her comment before Dom speaks. She told her husband that it's so. Karina said she told my husband it's okay that we live in Mexico and that I have to adapt, but her roots are German. At home, I sometimes have to be German. Outside, I love the Mexican atmosphere. I love that, Karina. And for us people who like me who have married and you who have married a spouse or have a partner from a different country, I think that's so. I'm always saying my husband, he's American. I'm saying I have to give you coaching in cultural intelligence because because sometimes I pronounce certain things or use certain phrases, which and I grew up speaking English, and we'll argue about that. And I'll say actually the Americans have kind of butchered the English language because India was a British colony, so we speak the right English, and or maybe some of my terms are Indian English, but there's no right English because I know in South Africa they have their own English, right? Like I mean, each country has adapted English, so it's just yeah. So it is, Karina, what you said really speaks to me because yeah, we have to sometimes. You can't take yourself. I think today I saw a LinkedIn post actually by a German. I think she had a beverage or for some photograph on a thing, and she said you can take a German out of Germany, but you can't take a German out of a German.
That was Birte. Yeah, that was Birte. She was making sauerkraut, so it wasn't a beverage, but yes. And this is something that yes, this is something that that I see a lot also, like with the German community, for instance, in China where we were. People who like barely set foot in the kitchen became these like amazing bakers because they missed the German bread so much, and so they would start making things from scratch. We've always, like, my husband and I have always been DIYers, so this was nothing new for us, but we supplied the sausages for the German Christmas market for a number of years in that town, and it was just because it's such a joy to bring that part of you to your community, right? And people would be like, I wait for those sausages all year, like I can't wait for the Christmas. It's just one day a year when those sausages were on sale, unless you're very good friends with us, and then we would slip you a pack or something. But
yeah, that's what we did here at the farmers market where I was selling biltong. It's like the South African beef jerky, and everybody's like, "Oh, it's so good!" And I went, "Oh, yeah, it's from the bush."
I love it.
Yeah. Biltong is big business in China. Also,
South Korea and America.
All the safas are like, "Oh, I'm a biltong maker," and all the ones who can't be bothered, they buy at like
so good
ridiculous prices.
Yeah, it's very expensive. Exactly.
Love it. And that's why I think it's also important, like with your identity, you don't have to give up who you are, right? I think so many times people, like when I first came to the US, I was working for a nonprofit, and we worked with immigrant professionals, helping them get jobs in the US. And I remember meeting all these accent trainers who would come and speak to her, and I was like, they can, don't strip your accent, and I know many of us who have accents in the US, sometimes we don't want to share our voices because we feel we're going to be discriminated against, especially if you're from, I know the Australian accent and the British accent are loved in the US, but the other accents, there can be some discriminations, almost like I have some people speaking really loudly to me because they think because I have an accent, my English is not, and my English is actually better than theirs, but it's just irritating. but I think, this holding, like, I think it's so important that we stick to identity. And when I saw Julie and Shanelle speaking right now about those foods, like, your eyes just lit up, your face was so animated, right? And both of you have lived in so many countries, had so many experiences, but still, what you love, maybe it's your original country, the country you come from, defines who we are today. So I think it's fabulous. Dom, go ahead and share how you got clarity, identity, and in the chat, definitely jump in if you have something to add.
Thanks. I just heart all of you. Naina, you're such a great celebrator of diversity and our voices. And I just want to call that out because of your platform, we all are able to connect with other expat women around the world. In terms of clarity for me, I am an experiential learner. I like to do things before I get clear on them. So I guess you call that crazy or risk taker. So curiosity helps me get clear on what I want and who I want to be. That's why I joined the Peace Corps, because I'm like, oh, what would it be like to live overseas and volunteer? That really gave me my edge for adventure and like wanting to be overseas more. And in terms of transitioning to entrepreneurship from my original career as a diplomat and in international affairs, I had to go the route of being a diplomat and understand what that was like and what it felt like to be working in an embassy and to be serving my country in that capacity, not just as a volunteer, but as a U.S. diplomat. And it was a lot of trial and error for me, but through and through. And what I love about living overseas is that we're constantly being challenged in terms of who we really, really are. When you strip away all of our country identities, all of our cultural identities, but you just get to the essence of who you are. And for me, I have known since I was a very young child that I love people. I'm very curious about what drives people. I love learning. And the choice to pursue entrepreneurship, it hit all that. It's like, oh, I could connect with people. I could learn a lot. I could try new things, and it's expected. And so when I transitioned over to entrepreneurship, it wasn't an intentional, I'm going to start a business. It was more so, I'm going to try this out and see if it works or see how I feel about it. And I remember doing my first in-person workshop when we moved to South Korea. And I got a client out of that workshop. I wasn't planning on it, but someone had raised their hand. They're like, Dom, how do I work with you? And so that's my origin story of how I got clarity, is that I just try things and I see how I feel. And then I test and experiment. And, here I am 7 years later, still doing the entrepreneurship thing, but it's always, it's exciting and dynamic because you always get to learn more and meet amazing people like we meet here inside of the Expat Women. Oh, you're muted, Naina.
I want to give you a shout out because you've also written a book, and the hard copy hasn't arrived. My hard copy hasn't arrived yet. I've been reading the book on Kindle on my laptop, I'm not on digital book reader, but I am sharing the QR code to the book. But right in our membership, every month we choose a book related to a theme for the membership. This month, our theme inside the Expat Women membership is clarity. And Dominique's book is really focused on that. It's Live a New Story. And I'm going to have you share a little bit more about the book, because I think it's so interesting that we talk about getting clarity and identity, and your move abroad led you to becoming an author and sharing your journey. What I really love about the book is how you have woven your story and all the challenges you faced into lessons, and then you have these coaching questions at the end. So let's have, before we go on to our next question, let's have you talk a little bit about the book. What inspired you to write the book, and what was your purpose with the book? And hopefully people will also grab a copy, because I think it's very inspirational, especially people who are struggling with finding identity and purpose abroad. Go ahead, Dom.
Yeah. Wow. Thanks, Naina. I don't even have my book. It's like, it's over there. I should go run over.
But the QR code is here, so people can just hold yeah.
When I started this journey of, really trying to understand who I wanted to be overseas, the easy answer would be like, oh, Dom, just become a diplomat. And I think for others, it's like, oh, that's such a hard thing to do. But for me, like, I had taken all the steps. I had all the education, I had done all the things, but the difference when you're an adult and you have kids or you're planning to start a family is that your actions and your decisions are not just yours alone. It impacts everyone around you. And so I had to really dig deep and ask myself, like, okay, if Carol and I are going to live overseas, and Carol has this career as a diplomat, do I also want that path for myself, or do I want something different? And what I realized through experience is that I wanted something different, but I didn't know what that was. And I didn't have the answers. I didn't have a roadmap. I didn't have any example or any role model. Specifically, a woman of color in the same-sex couple living overseas. Like, okay, does anyone have a roadmap for me? And I just didn't find anything. So I went on this journey of personal growth and started learning a lot, started reading a lot of books, started listening to a lot of podcasts, a lot of YouTube channels, and I would just learn. Like, I'm such a student, and I love being in business because I get to learn all the time. And I started writing down these questions. And as I was writing down these questions, I'm like, you know what? Wouldn't it be great if I put this all in a book? Because I'm going through this challenge. I'm sure there's other people going through this challenge. And what really inspired me was that I want to help those who are going through the struggle of not knowing who they are anymore because they've sacrificed or they've left their home country and now they're in a completely different environment. And that book was written to support those who felt lost and isolated and just like a low sense of self and lack of purpose, because that's how I felt. And I'm like, I wish there was a book like this. So I wrote this book during the pandemic. It had always been, I had always had this vision or this dream, like, I want to be an author one day. Like, wouldn't that be cool? And during the pandemic, it gave me the perfect time and environment to like tell myself, like, okay, I'm going to do this in 1 year. I'm going to figure out this book. I'm going to write it and I'm going to launch it. And the beauty of the book is that it's not just for people that are living overseas. This is for anyone that is going through a life transition and they don't know who they are anymore. They don't know what they value, or they have some semblance of who they were before, but now they're evolving. Life has changed, things have changed, work has changed. Maybe there's a few kids in the picture, or maybe you're in retirement. And the book has really helped, at least the folks that have reached out to me on DMs and Instagram and LinkedIn. It's really helped them take charge and go after their bigger vision, their bigger ideas. So yeah, like the big inspiration for the book was, I wish there was a roadmap for me. I wish there was a book when I was struggling really, really deeply for over a decade in terms of my identity. And that book, the 96 pages, that's what I came up with in terms of helping and supporting those that need that inspiration and motivation to keep going, keep searching, keep digging, keep exploring, keep experimenting, because I really believe that this challenge of living overseas, it really it hits on all parts of you in all different ways, and it's an opportunity to evolve into a better, clearer, more authentic, more purposeful version of yourself.
Thank you. Thanks, Dom. I wanted to.
Whoever.
This is what I did.
Whoever's reading the book, whoever's reading the book, Dom is also really, really good at taking people through that process. Just saying, she's a wonderful coach.
I'm trying to share my screen of your book just to show the book before we move on. I've never shared a screen, so I'm also experimenting. You guys are the guinea pigs. So let me see if I try to pull it up on Amazon. Let's see. Yeah. Can you guys see it?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, cool. Okay, I'll learn something new now. All right, so let me now figure out how to stop sharing the screen. Oh my goodness. Okay, stop screen. All right, and before we move on to the next question, let me look at the chat. And Anna Maria says, "Hurrah, Naina. Everyone's English is acceptable in English, and I'm the same as Karina. Sometimes at home, I just need to be a bit more British than I might be outside of the house here in Spain, most notably at Christmas time." And yes, and I love the British plum pudding and the pudding with the brandy butter and all that, so I hear you. I mean, I didn't grow up in England, but we have a lot of influence from the British culture in India, especially those of us who celebrate Christmas. So Anna Maria, that's cool. And then what is Karina's she said, I can't roll the R very good, but it's okay for me. And yes, they also talk to me sometimes very slow. And I think, yeah, it's so, yeah, they talk slowly or they talk loudly or they do like all like, you know, the hand things. And it's like, I feel like wearing a t-shirt. I speak English or something like sometimes because it's so irritating. But anyway, that's a price we pay for being expats in another country and, you know, holding on to our identities, our accents and stuff. All right, let me move on to our next question. I have my questions in the notes because I knew otherwise I might go off tangent, which I think we already did, but it's all related to this. So, what small steps can so this is like just if you have any tips to share with our guests, like what can they do if they feel stuck, they feel I don't know who I am yet, I don't have my, you know, I don't know how to find my purpose, my identity abroad, because you know when some of us have to reinvent our careers when we move abroad because we can't work for whatever reasons, or we just feel this is no longer what we want to do. So anyone want to share any tips about that? Go ahead, and people in the chat too can share or ask questions. Go ahead.
I'll share a quick tip. I think journaling is an excellent way to bring awareness to your thoughts, emotions, desires, and dreams. And journaling has been a practice that I've done since high school in terms of my goals and my vision. So when you're overseas or you're in a new environment, get a journal, write it down, let yourself see, you know, the changes and the emotions and the challenges and the excitement and the joy, and, you know, bring all that to your awareness so that you can start to see what's where's life pulling you. Like I feel like there's this invisible thread that if we get in tune with ourselves, we can see it, we can hear it, we can feel it, we can sense it. And, you know, let that be your guiding light in terms of what you want to do, who you want to engage with, and what opportunities you want to go after.
I'll go next. Something that I've done, as you all know, very shy little Shanelle, is to actually try something. Like, don't just think about it. Like, for instance, we moved from South Korea to Ecuador. We knew pickleball was big here, so we kind of started to play pickleball in South Korea, but I mean, we didn't know what to do. So eventually we came here, and now we're playing against pretty good people. And I had no idea. I was so scared somebody's going to hit me with the ball. So my tip is, like, go out there and try new things and meet the kind of people that's in that environment, and that will give you clarity. Do I like this or do I not? Like, your body will tell you, like, yes, this feels good, or uncomfortable. And sometimes it's uncomfortable the first time, but you know, after a while it gets familiar. For instance, I played pickleball a year and a half ago, very scared of the ball. I just won a tournament Sunday. So, you know, try things and see if you like it or not. Yeah.
Another thing is, so I think it ties in with what Shanelle was saying, is find your tribe, like find your people, because if you are, we need some kind of anchor, right? And finding people, and that means going, like, leaning out the window a tiny little bit and doing things that might feel uncomfortable at first, but only if you meet a lot of people. I mean, there's the saying, you have to kiss a lot of frogs before you find your prince, right? And finding your family abroad, finding your people, finding your community, I think is similar. And you have to meet the frogs before you can kiss them. So you have to go out and do the thing. That's one thing. Another thing that I find helps is when you try to create a routine in your life. I find that can be helpful, because if everything is up in the air and being in another country is stressful, like physically even, right? It's stressful for our bodies. But if we can create a routine that can give us stability, it can give us groundedness, and that can then help to even have the mental space to start thinking about who I want to be. And this is something that I think is a fine line, though, because you can try to perfect your environment forever and ever and use that to hide from what you actually need to do to become who you're supposed to be in your new environment. But I think when you just go out and do everything and try to push in different directions without having that grounding, that sense of grounding, then that's also bad. So finding the happy medium, I suppose.
All such great tips. I just want to go through each tip that all three of you shared. So Dom's main one was journaling, which I think is so important, and it requires effort because I started doing journaling this year and then it's fallen by the wayside. I was like, everyone, my sister-in-law gave me this lovely leather-bound journal and and was like, right. And I was even showing my daughter, look, I'm journaling, and now it's all gone. But but I think if you can stick to it, it's real. And there's some of people who are more like consistent with doing stuff, but I think it's such a great tip. Shanelle said, try new things. I so agree. So agree. And I think when we move to a new country, we are already stepping out of our comfort zone, whether we wanted to move or not. I think it's like, it's just a big transition. Even if you move to, I think even if you move to a country that's similar to yours, it's still, I think it's hard. Like someone moves from Canada to the US, I still think the transition is hard because you're uprooted. And I think that should give you the confidence and courage. I already moved to a new country. I went to the unknown. So now I can do so much more, which leads into what Shanelle said, trying new things and finding what lights you up. And even though pickleball is not related to what you do, I think that's so important, right? Because you can't just be like, when I came here and once I got my work excuse me, work permit, all I wanted to do was find a job, because that was my identity back in India, what I did, my career. And I was like, I have to find a job. I have to find a job. I was living in one of the most beautiful, at least in those days, the most beautiful cities in the world. And I wasn't playing tourist in San Francisco. I just said, I was just applying. And I like that you're doing pickleball on the side, because that makes life so much more exciting, and you find people, to connect with, and you're doing something that's, again, stepping out of your comfort zone. And then Julie, just remind me what you said, because you said something really thing, but my mind is like
building your tribe on the one hand,
yes,
and creating a routine on the other.
And what was the second part? Building a tribe and
creating a routine so that you have stability, you can be
yes,
grounded in the moment, to even have the mental capacity to explore who you want to be.
Very true. And I think Dom does touch upon the habits a little bit in your book, and I think that's so important, the routine, because yeah, I think that's, and but also finding your community. And it's not easy. Even today, after living in the US for 23 years, I have amazing online community, all you ladies who are part of the Expat Movement membership. Even though we meet online, I always feel so inspired, and so it pumps my adrenaline. Like after I'm done, I just feel like, like I've met my friends, and then the larger Expat Women community. But finding your tribe requires work. Like people think, oh, I'll just move and I'll just make friends. It's not. And as we get older and more, we've evolved as expats. I think we've really evolved. Like back in India, I would be friends with everyone, but now I'm like, I only want to be friends with certain people, because if someone I feel is too toxic, or I don't feel good, I'd rather be by myself. I've had some experiences where I've tried to be friends with different groups, and then when I come back after hanging out with certain people, I feel even more alone or more exhausted and drained. So I think it's also finding the right people that kind of lift you up. And I think the routines are so important too. And my tip, and how I found my what zone of genius, what really lights me up, because I love the work I'm doing. I didn't have a plan. As I said, I just knew what I didn't want to do. So I think that's the step. Finding what doesn't light you up, even if you had a career. Like back in India, I worked in a really fabulous corporation. I didn't like it, but it had all the perks: a car, an apartment, traveling first class all over the world. But at the end of the day, I wasn't happy, and I knew I didn't want to do that. And I didn't like the corporate culture. I didn't like how patriarchal it was. I was like, I cannot work in an environment where women are treated differently. And I know it continues here in the US. It's not just India. It's like, and this was a multinational. So I knew what I didn't want to do. So I would say make a list of things that you don't like doing, that don't light you up, even though you had them back in your country, because this is your opportunity to reinvent yourself. Really, I think it's such a fabulous opportunity. And yeah, and I know sometimes we have to take jobs because financially we have to support ourselves. So sometimes you might take something that we have to do, but I think also on the side trying to figure out what do I want to do. And for me, it was just experimenting, trying new things, finding what gave me happiness. So it was a long journey. It was very organic. There were many setbacks, but today I have finally, because I stepped out of my comfort zone, I took risks. I didn't make money the priority. That's important, especially for us solopreneurs. We have to make money to survive. But I kind of, there are ways to make money and still enjoy what you're doing. And when you find what you love doing, your zone of genius, your purpose, your new identity, then work doesn't feel like work, which I know in the case of all you ladies, I know you love what you do and you're excited to do it. And of course, some days there's burnout and some days you want to take a break. But I just think when you wake up excited about like, oh, today I'm going to be working on this or creating a lead magnet or coaching a client, or maybe some of us are going to start writing books. I'm going to write the first chapter. It's so exciting. So that's what I think it is, finding that passion, and that comes by experimenting, just doing it. Don't wait for perfection. Maybe this is not your path, but just try it. And then, it's like peeling an onion. You'll finally find that, and even maybe today we're excited, all four of us are excited what we do, but maybe 5 years down the line, we might have moved into a new career, and that's totally okay. So long, but I think the important is being excited and lighting you up, because when you do work that is in your area, your comfort zone, what you're good at, then you're better. It gives you that unique advantage, and you don't need to have two different colored eyes even to stand out. Like, like that's such a unique selling point for you, but you can be just like an ordinary person without any distinctive, and this is meant with all respect and compliments to you, Shanelle, because I think it's beautiful. But I'm just saying, so with that, let me just see what people are saying in the comments, if there's anyone adding something. And I think it's time to bring Karina up on, because I told Karina at the end that since she's a member of the Expat Women, so she said she connected with a lot of locals. And the funny thing was, most of her friends are expats too, from Colombia, Argentina. She loves hobbies, aerial silks. If you follow Karina, she's doing some amazing stuff, hanging upside down from like a long silk, I don't know, fabric, like aerial, like it's just amazing. And she said I should try to. I feel I'll kill myself trying to do it, but still, she enjoys connecting with members of groups like the Expat Women membership, and it helps you see things. Your own things are a little less heavy. We are not alone. We are many. So true, because I think very often as expats, and when we feel we've lost our identity, we don't have a purpose, we're confused, we're overwhelmed, when you meet other people and realize we're not the only one, it is so liberating. So my next question, because Julie spoke about community, and we all of you are members of the Expat Women membership, I just wanted to ask, and let me look at, I know I shared the question with you. Being part of the membership, and sorry, this is a little plug for the membership too, but I know all you ladies have all been so active and involved in the membership, and I've seen your journey. Dom has been a member for the longest, I know 3-4 since the pandemic, I think 4 or 5 years, and even your journey and your career paths have changed. How has the membership helped you with gaining clarity, elevating your identity, purpose, and what you want to be known for? If it has in any way, do share. In the meantime, I'm going to figure out how to bring Karina up on stage. So yeah,
I'll go. I think, this space, it's a unique experience. And the Expat Woman, Nina, when I was looking for connection, like literally Googling for connection, it was the Expat Woman that kept showing up. And I think when you're overseas and you don't have those, you're out for the first time and you're trying to find your tribe. I mean, a thing that I have done is I create my tribe wherever I go, because I'm just a relationship builder. But to have an anchor wherever you go, like the Expat Woman, Nina, for me, has been an anchor, whether I'm in South Korea, whether I'm in Australia, whether I'm going to Fiji. Like, I know that I can come back here and that people will know me. Like, I don't have to start over again. So that is the beauty of the Expat Woman. And then, of course, right, like visibility and, getting our names out there and our businesses out there. But I think most importantly is that social wellness piece that a lot of us can just miss out on, because we're not quite who we were in our passport country, and we're not quite, the full-on person that we're going to in our next country. So like being in that in between, like this is the perfect place to share those experiences, because no one will get it unless they've lived this lifestyle. So that's what it's been an anchor for me throughout the several years and continents that I've been through. So thank you for existing and for creating this space.
Thank you, Dom. It's always great to have you. And I didn't realize you were a member when you were in 3 different countries. That's so cool. So we saw you across different continents too. Okay, I actually brought Karina on as well. So she's another member of the Expat Women membership, and I told her we'll bring on. And if anyone else, maybe we can bring on one more guest. But Julie and Shanelle and Karina, you can add your if the membership has helped you with finding your identity or elevating it or getting more comfortable speaking publicly, etc. Go ahead.
I agree with Dom, actually. I haven't been part of it for that amount of time, but I think I started in September, if I'm right. Anyway, and in this short time, like whenever I connect with any one of the ladies in the membership, it's like an instant connection where you go, oh, like she gets it. It's not, you don't have to explain like I'm lonely or, all the boring things that somebody who never left the country wouldn't understand. So it's an instant connection and an instant energy exchange where like, yes, this is my tribe, this is my people, like they understand. And you walk away every time just so, I don't want to say the word connected again because I think I've said it several times now, but you feel so part of something, empowered, energized, like I feel supported. Like I think that's the biggest thing. Yeah. Thank you, Naina. And again, thank you for existing because this is a great space.
Thanks for being part of it. If you ladies were not part of it, then it wouldn't exist. So, and Dominique is a testament. She's traveled the world with us and continued to be a member, which I really appreciate. And then it's always lovely having new members and, yeah, go ahead, Julie and Karina, good to see you on stage.
For me, it's the relationships that I've built with the other members, and also this, that people are in your corner. It's women lifting up women, which I'm a huge fan of. And there's no cattiness, there's no competition. It's all about how can we create something together? How can we just have fun? How can we just vent to somebody who understands? And I love the fact that it is all over the world. That right now we have two different parts of the US and Ecuador and Mexico and Germany all in one room, right? And the only thing is virtual hugs are not nearly as fun as in-person hugs, but that's something I'll have to live with.
And I wanted to, what you said about the cattiness, I have to that's really our members. Sometimes we say women in groups can be toxic and, which, I've been in groups with men too where they've been toxic, but I just think our members, for some reason, it's always so supportive that I've never had to delete a comment or delete a post inside our membership because someone said something rude or I don't know what it is, but it seems to attract the women who want to really support each other, who don't see each other as competitors. Because sometimes people are in similar fields, but everyone's supporting each other. And I think also what the common thread is, we all want to make those bold moves, but we all want to build our visibility, but also build our community. And we don't think it's wrong because very often, especially for some of us who are grown up in countries where showing up, sharing your experience, talking about yourself is considered bragging, not very ladylike, bossy. She's such a loud woman, and here it's fine because when you are showing up and sharing your expertise, your act and value, you're actually supporting somebody who might want to hear what you have to say. If you don't, you're doing a disservice to that person and also to yourself. So I think that's also part of it. We all are on a similar journey, but we also want to, we found clarity or we're finding it and we want to add value and we want to share it with the world and take those risks. All of you, I know public speaking is not easy, and I know some of you initially were like, oh my gosh, even me, if you told me when I came to the US, you'll be on, doing these lives and all, I said, no way, right? So I think that also being, we give each other confidence and these opportunities. Go ahead, Karina, and then we'll go into our last question.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for that. I've been here and thank you for all your words. it's exactly that why I think I joined the group and why I like to try to join every meeting that we have. It's just so inspiring. And when I enter in the membership, it was literally, I was in the moment like I felt so lonely in big Mexico. And I was like, how is that possible? Because I felt in somehow yeah, I have some characters and things or pieces inside me, they wanted to be just how they are, and I know I needed to adapt where I am. And in some way I was like, okay, but till which point I need to do that? And it's one thing if you have that in your personal life, or but in the other hand is also when you have it in the business world as well. So with who you are talking, my German colleagues are now almost sleeping. Yeah. So and in Mexico, they don't understand how my German mind is working. So that was a little tricky. So I loved this group because I could learn and listen and really get very motivated from all of your stories a lot. So I get a lot of energy and spirit out of it from each story. So everybody, I mean, we are in the same boat because we are not living in our hometown or where we are born, but at the end of the day we have similar situation, and at the same time we are so unique. And for me, really the great part is what what moves me forward. I think I'm joined last summer, if I'm correct, is with the small groups that we had. I found a way to connect really my two passions, the marketing and my interest for psychologist topics, because I didn't want to be now a psychologist and leaving the marketing behind. And in these small groups, just because of question and answering, I found a way to connect these two things. And I'm really happy and looking forward to how that will work out at the end of this year. So I'm very hard working on that topic, and thank you very much for everybody and joining your stories, because they really cheer me up a lot of times.
Thank you so much, Corina. And I'm really glad also to hear about that you got clarity on how to integrate your two different areas of expertise. I think that's amazing. And thank you all for your kind words. I'll take the QR code down. That's the QR code in the corner for the membership. So we're always looking to bring in new members. And again, I feel very icky promoting the membership because it is a paid membership, but you know, you sometimes have to pay to get quality, and it supports the expat woman. So with that, my last question for all of you is, do you have any final words, a tip that our guests can implement in finding their clarity, their identity, their purpose, what they want to be known for? Because I think all those then lead to what you want to be known for, and when you find what you want to be known for, then opportunities come. It gives you peace of mind. You're not working the hamster wheel, I think, because you've already figured out, and then you can kind of have the processes, the routine, the strategies in place. So I give each of you time to share what your tips and how to implement them. And then again in the chat, if you have something to add, if you have a question, you can, or you're watching the replay, you can even leave a comment and we can come and check back and respond to it. So go ahead, whoever wants to go first.
I'll go. My last parting tip is follow your curiosity. Whatever it is you want to study, like really get into and nerd out on and like obsess over, like that could be the thing that is, calling you to lead in. So follow your curiosity and just go for it. Take action.
Mine is reach out for help. It takes a village not only to raise a child, but also to become clear on who you are. And reaching out can be, I love LinkedIn for meaningful connection. I know some people are like, oh, everyone is selling. No, but it's depending on how you show up. I think it's a really good platform. The membership is a really good platform to do this, and or get a coach, because I mean I have to say this, right? I'm a coach, but get a coach, because it actually is like there's a reason that people pay ridiculous amounts of money for coaches, because it forces you to confront things that if you muddle through by yourself, you will keep skirting around. And I think that's helpful.
I would say carve out time and money for your fun. I'm a financial coach, so that's in the framework. Money and time, set aside a percentage of that for fun. Just no guilt spending. Yes, have fun.
So that everybody share now their topics, I have to share then mine. Get clear about for who you're standing or for what product you're standing. And sometimes it's not hard to do it on your own. So as Julie said, find a coach, a network system that might help you to point that topics out with you, and believe on yourself. Yeah, it's I think it's a lot. We all look very self-confident and in a lot of ways, and I think we have all a very great career and we achieved a lot, but it was not easy. I mean, there were some smaller and bigger stones in our way, so I feel like groups like this where you, yeah, for sure we share it on LinkedIn now, but in general I feel very private, so, and I feel very confident to show on the other hand also, hey, I don't know everything, I'm just human as you and you and you. So don't be shy. And the coach tip, yeah, I was really struggling a long time with that, and I'm very, very happy that I did it 2 years ago. And whenever I have the feeling, okay, here's a point where I need an external view or whatever, I'm really looking forward it, because it saves you a lot of time and money and gives you a lot of clarity. So I think in here we connect all the points.
You're muted, Nina.
Sorry, ladies. Everyone else, all of you have done such a great job of muting and unmuting, and I'm the only one who forgets to unmute. But those are all really valuable tips. Before I share my tip, I wanted to also give a shout out to all of you for being here today, for sharing your expertise, and also all of you are speakers at the upcoming Expat Women Summit. So people will have more events like this, and each of you will be sharing your expertise. Let me just find the QR code for the summit so people who are not registered can sign up for the wait list. So I'm very excited to have you continue, and this is the beauty of the membership too, is that there are all these opportunities for us not to connect in person, unfortunately, but to connect through these events and these public speaking opportunities while we're sharing our knowledge, experiences, expertise. And none of us, as one of you said, you don't have to be perfect, you don't have to be an expert. My tip is, don't worry about what people will say about failing. Just show up as who you are, as your messy self. I mean, in the old days I would not show up with my hair being like all crazy like this. I would feel like I have to go to the salon, get it flat ironed and look like perfect. And now it's like, especially today with all these AI photographs out there, I think we have to show up as who we are. We are real. This is not AI. These are all real people. So I just say, put yourself out there, even if it's scary, even if you're worried your ex-colleagues are going to see it, your ex-boyfriend, partner, spouse is going to see you sharing something, showing up on video on LinkedIn. Just show up, because we all have something to share. And as you keep showing up and sharing your journey, your expertise, the clarity will come. Because if you wait for perfection, it's going to be hard. You have to experiment, you have to fail. And my favorite quote is by Nelson Mandela. He says, I never lose, I either win or I learn. And that's how I see it. Every time something doesn't work out the way I wanted to, maybe you have a workshop, no one signs up, or webinar, you're learning, like, why didn't these people show up? It's not because of me. Maybe I need to change the language, or maybe my target audience didn't even see it. So we have to keep that in mind. And I encourage everyone to connect with all these wonderful ladies today, because they also are coaches. I think everyone here is a coach, right? And has workshops, webinars. So this video will stay on YouTube. And I think Vandana just joined us. I just got distracted. Vandana, another member, joined us. She's actually watching us on YouTube. Thank you, Vandana. She says, grateful to be here. Yeah, I would have brought you up, but Vandana is actually going to be speaking at our next coffee chat, which will be about imposter syndrome. So thank you so much, Dom, Shanelle, Julian, for being part of the panel, this discussion, and then Karina for joining us at the end. Thank you to all the guests. Please connect with all these wonderful ladies. Join us for the summit so you can hear more about them, and join the membership. Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.